for the loan.
That's for the financier.
Yes, there's always a provision for bad debts.
Okay.
And then, so when you're making your provisions for the bad debt, even if for the fact that you're making your provisions for bad debt, doesn't mean that you won't request for repayment of money.
Okay.
Like, okay, us now as an example, we have customers like that.
Yeah.
Just most of the times that they now further seek for extension
Yes.
for the loan.
Yes.
So we advise they pay back the interest.
But for the extension you give, what's the minimum, the maximum period for extension?
No.
30 days, right? No,
No.
some will give that 30 and...
No, we don't.
Extension
Extension is, it might be for back. Yeah, no, restructuring is different from extension. When you are restructuring your loan, it is quite different from extension. Extension is, I can't pay back at this time, so I want you to still extend it
My
for the
repayment period.
my actual initial period that I requested for you, extend it for that same period, but I'll have to pay back. No,
Restructuring is quite different.
In the loan, then you want to take another one. No, that's not restructuring. Restructuring, I've not paid the loan.
Okay.
I've not paid the loan, and I can't pay you the interest that I promised to pay. So you would have to add up my interests with my principal.
No, if you are defaulting.
Yes.
If you are paying but then you're defaulting, you can ask for restructure.
Yes, it's still the same thing. I can
No,
ask
it's
for
not like-
I can ask
not
to
like
restructure my
you
loan.
the loan. You can be paying, but if you notice they're not capable enough to.
Okay,
be paying
I
after
get what
when
you're
you
saying. Yeah.
can restructure.
So now what I'm saying is, okay, I'm not paying, I've been paying, and I know that I don't have the capacity again at this point. Add up whatever interest I have as I now with the principal. Make that my principal.
Exactly.
Then give me a new offer
Yeah,
for the loan.
that's restructure.
Now, at this point, I can say that I am taking it for 30 days or I'm taking it for a longer term. But for extension, it's usually the same period that they borrowed from. So initially, if you borrowed for 30 days, if we are extending for another 30 days. So all you have to pay me the interest repayment on that initial principal, and then you pay another management fee. Yes, upfront fee. You pay it, and then you still have the principal running. So the fact that you close out that loan and then you have to start giving documentations and all of that again, that is not there.
Yeah.
That's how.
Like I said, she's the only one that can break this down because this is your office. But it's just to give you a clarity when we're looking at, margins, an equal good deal, and all, because it's going to really help even the buyer itself, not just the supplier and the financier. So that nobody's going into trouble at the end of the day. Especially when you have a lot of gaps, to close out, to retrieve. Okay, next slide. So here, this is also giving us another good example of what our review of the sample LPO documents should look like. Every LPO document should have these formats. In fact, the key part of it is the LPO number. Most times, if you don't confirm that LPO number well, one digit alone can mess up the whole thing. So it's not enough that it has been confirmed. You've gotten the buyer's manufacturer, the buyer's address, the buyer's name, date has been issued, the supplier, and all of that. That's LPO number. Just like what we have here, PMC, which is the tech manufacturers and a private tech and all of that put together. Once that 017 is not confirmed to be 017, maybe you have 016. There's nothing anybody can do about this.
So,
to be flagged.
The duration of the contract will still be here.
Duration of contracts will just be documentation.
Okay.
So when you have year in operation, that's just the company itself.
How long
the company has existed, because they already have the details, account and all that, put together. So go to the next slide. So for this one now, we're having a very good example of what, of course we've done that before. Good description of a supply of industry or industrial lubricants. When somebody, and like I told you, these things are industrial. It is that oil and gas, depending on where you're getting that LPO from. So the contract is actually valued at this amount. So the supplier, and like I said, it's not because the financier does not have the finance sometimes, but there is what you call due process, and due process has to be followed. If not, the financier, the supplier, will get into trouble at the end of the day, especially when that LPO has not been confirmed. Alright? So that's the second step. Then the third step, you have verification. Now that's verification is where everything, the onus lies. Because under verification, the financier will have to, you see what I'm saying? Finance this LPO. And he just tells you, okay, let me see you first thing tomorrow morning. And he does the transfer. He goes behind and does his own background checks to make sure that this LPO is creditworthiness. This LPO is viable. And he also confirms the availability and the authenticity of the LPO itself. Next slide. So the fourth one is funding. So when verification has been conducted, he now has the free mind to say, okay, now that I am sure, my money is not going to disappear. I'm not going to look for you at the end of the day. So he funds financial supplies directly or pays vendor directly. Now, it's actually in two ways. When you say your financier can either pay directly to supplier, if it is a trusted, maybe someone that he has been working with or he knows very well, or he can decide, oh, instead of paying to you, I'd rather just pay to the buyer directly. So it is either which way. Even if he's paying to the buyer, the supplier is also going to get an invoice or a receipt of payments. You understand? So nobody's affected whichever way. The delivery. Supplier delivers goods and services to the buyer. Payment. Buyer pays into financier's controlled account. Of course, that's after a stipulated period of time. 30 days, 60 days, like I said. Then settlement period. Financiers deduct principal. Agreed profit balance, like I did mention. And everybody walks home smiling. Alright. You can stop.